At her cousin Mackenzie's engagement dinner, Olivia froze as Mackenzie raised her glass, looked right at her, and said, "I hope I never end up like her, single with a kid." The room erupted in laughter. Not polite laughter, but real, hard laughter, like she'd said the funniest thing all night. Olivia's Uncle Gordon clapped the table and added, "Men don't want used goods. That's just how it is." Even Olivia's own mother let out a little chuckle as she reached for the wine. Olivia sat there frozen, her face hot, heart pounding, trying to act like it didn't matter. But then something unexpected happened. Liam, Mackenzie's fiancé, stood up. He didn't smile. He didn't say anything at first. He just walked slowly across the room toward Olivia. The laughter died. Chairs stopped shifting. Forks paused midair. Every single person turned to look. And then Liam said, "I think they should know something." The room went dead silent. Olivia had received the invitation a month before the dinner. Cream-colored cardstock, gold lettering, perfectly over the top. "Join us to celebrate the engagement of Mackenzie Reynolds and Liam Bennett." She stared at it for a long time before putting it down next to a stack of unpaid bills. Mackenzie and Olivia hadn't spoken in more than 6 months, not since Mackenzie made a joke at a baby shower about how Olivia collected diapers and bad decisions. Olivia had laughed then to keep the peace, but it sat in her stomach like a stone. She wasn't sure she could sit through an entire evening surrounded by people who still looked at her like she was some teenage cautionary tale, even though she was 32, raising her son on her own, working 2 jobs, and keeping their little apartment afloat with late-night freelance gigs and prayer. She almost didn't go, but her mom called her 3 times the day before. "Mackenzie's family, Olivia. Just smile, eat a little, show your face. It's one evening." She didn't say it out loud, but Olivia knew what she meant. Don't cause a scene. Don't make anyone uncomfortable. Blend in. So Olivia found the nicest dress she had, which was 2 years old and just barely zipped. She borrowed shoes from her neighbor. She let Noah pick the necklace she wore. He chose a little silver heart that he said looked like his. When they arrived, she could already feel the tension tucked behind the floral arrangements and fake hugs. The restaurant was upscale, private room, low lighting, and soft music, expensive wines lined up like trophies. Everyone wore elegance like armor. Mackenzie floated across the room in a fitted silk dress and too much perfume. She kissed Olivia on the cheek like she was her distant aunt. "I'm so glad you came," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Did you bring a +1 or just Noah?" "Just Noah," Olivia said. "Oh," she said, and turned to greet someone else. Noah was sent to the kids' table with a coloring book and chicken tenders. Olivia was seated near the end of the long white draped table between her mother and Aunt Victoria, who spent the first 10 minutes showing her pictures of her dog's Halloween costumes. Olivia scanned the table. Her Uncle Gordon, Mackenzie's dad, was already 3 drinks in. Her mom looked like she had been trying to stay invisible since they walked in. Across the room, Liam stood quietly by the bar, talking with his younger brother. Olivia noticed how he kept checking his phone, how his smile looked forced. It was clear who the room was for. Mackenzie was glowing under the attention, working the crowd with practiced charm. She always knew how to make people laugh. When the appetizers came, Olivia's mother leaned over and whispered, "Just keep your head down. You look nice." Nice. Not beautiful, not strong, just nice. Like that was the highest compliment she could give. Olivia nodded. She tried to enjoy the food. She tried to breathe through the awkward silences and the occasional pointed looks from relatives who still thought her son was some stain on the family tree. She made small talk, laughed when expected, and passed the butter, but inside she was holding her breath. She didn't expect kindness, not really, but she didn't expect what came next either. When the main course was cleared and glasses were refilled, Mackenzie stood up. She raised her champagne and tapped her fork against the glass. She waited for everyone to quiet down. Olivia thought it would be a typical toast. Love, gratitude, a few awkward jokes about wedding planning. She wasn't ready for what Mackenzie actually said. She wasn't ready for how the room would laugh, and she definitely wasn't ready for what Liam would do next. Mackenzie tapped her glass with a silver fork and smiled like she was on stage. She waited until the room quieted, all eyes on her, soaking in the attention like it fed her. Liam sat beside her, silent, hands folded. Olivia watched his eyes flick toward her for a brief second, then back to the table. He looked tired. Mackenzie raised her glass. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I can't believe I get to marry someone like Liam. He's patient, smart, and, most importantly, he puts up with me. Laughter rolled through the room. Her voice was smooth, polished, confident. Really, though, I just hope our marriage lasts. I'd hate to end up like some people. She turned her head toward Olivia, just slightly. Just enough. There was a pause. I mean, single at 30 with a kid. She laughed. The room exploded. Not a few awkward chuckles. Real laughter. Olivia's aunt actually wiped her eyes. Gordon slapped the table, wheezing from his own joke before he even said it. Men don't want used goods, he said. That's just how it is. You can't trade in a dented car and expect full price. Olivia's stomach dropped. She looked to her mother. She gave a weak smile and reached for her wine. Olivia wanted to vanish. She stared at her empty plate, her hands in her lap, gripping her napkin so hard it wrinkled into a knot. She could feel every eye glancing toward her. Not long enough to count as confrontation, just long enough to confirm the punchline. She was the punchline. She thought of Noah, just a few feet away, happily drawing a spaceship on a napkin. He didn't hear it. He didn't know they were talking about his mother like she was some second-hand dress in a clearance bin. Aunt Victoria leaned toward Olivia and whispered, "Oh, honey, she didn't mean it. Mackenzie just likes attention." It wasn't just attention. It was venom in a glass flute, served with dessert. Olivia sat up straighter, refusing to let them see her flinch. Her cheeks were burning, her heart thudding so loud she could barely hear the background music. She glanced at Liam again. He looked at his hands. His jaw was tight. He wasn't laughing. Mackenzie continued like nothing had happened. She made a few more jokes, this time about how she made Liam get rid of his gaming console and how he would never survive marriage without her. The laughter was softer now. A few people looked uncomfortable. Olivia's mom fidgeted with her bracelet. No one said anything. That was the worst part. No one said anything. They laughed because it was easy. Because it's easier to laugh at the woman who didn't do it right. The one who had a baby without a husband. The one who showed up alone. The one who didn't smile wide enough or play along. Olivia thought about standing up. She thought about grabbing Noah, saying something sharp, and walking out. She had the words on the tip of her tongue, something like, "At least I raised a human being while you were still uploading bikini photos for validation." But she didn't say anything. She swallowed it. She sat there and let the heat climb up her chest and into her ears. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that she was here for one night, that she would go home, tuck Noah in, and not give any of these people another thought. Then Liam stood up. He didn't say anything at first. He just pushed his chair back and walked around the table. Everyone stopped. Mackenzie blinked. Gordon reached for his glass. Olivia's mother stared at her lap. Liam walked all the way down to where Olivia was sitting. The sound in the room flattened, like all the oxygen had been sucked out. He looked at her, then looked at the table full of people, the family he was about to marry into. And then he spoke. "I think they should know something," he said. No one moved. No one laughed. In that moment, everything shifted. Liam's words hit the air like a stone dropped in still water. "I think they should know something." The room didn't just go silent. It paused. Every clink of silverware, every nervous giggle, every movement froze. Mackenzie blinked, confused. unsure if this was part of some surprise toast she hadn't approved. Gordon lowered his glass. Olivia's mother turned slightly in her seat, finally looking at her instead of past her. Olivia couldn't breathe. Liam was standing directly beside her now, not behind her, not halfway across the table, right beside her. Close enough that she could see the way his jaw was clenched. She expected more humiliation. Maybe he was going to agree with them. Maybe he was about to say something she'd never recover from. He looked down at her, not with pity, not with shame, but something else, something solid. Then he turned to face the rest of the room. "I don't think I can sit here and let this continue," he said. His voice was calm but clear. Not loud, but strong enough that no one dared speak over him. "Mackenzie," he said, looking at her now, "that wasn't just a joke. That was cruel." She opened her mouth, but he held up his hand. "I need to say this." His eyes scanned the room. "You all laugh at Olivia like she's some kind of failure, like her life is this thing to avoid. But what you don't know, what you refuse to see, is that she's the strongest person in this room." Olivia's heart was hammering. She didn't understand what was happening. She could feel 20 sets of eyes on her, but Liam never broke his focus. He went on, 2 years ago, when I was at one of the lowest points of my life, Olivia helped me, not just with job leads or encouragement, but with real support. She gave me her time, her energy, her kindness, when no one else in this family even noticed I was struggling. People began to shift in their seats. Mackenzie's smile had vanished. Olivia's mother's hands were folded tight in her lap. "When I got laid off from my tech job, I fell into a depression. I started drinking too much. Mackenzie told me to snap out of it. Her dad told me to stop being weak, but Olivia checked in on me every week. She helped me clean up my resume. She put me in touch with someone she used to work with. She even watched my niece when my sister had surgery, just so I could go to job interviews. She never asked for anything. She didn't expect credit. She just showed up." He turned toward her again. "You didn't know me well, but you saw I was drowning and you pulled me out." Olivia felt her throat close. Not with shame this time, but with disbelief. Liam turned back to the table. "So when you laugh at her, when you reduce her to some stereotype, when you act like she's broken or used, or whatever disgusting thing Gordon just said, you're not insulting some abstract figure. You're insulting the person who helped me get back on my feet. You're insulting the kind of woman I wish more people could be." Mackenzie stood up now. "What are you doing?" "I'm being honest," Liam said. "I've sat through a lot of fake smiles and shallow compliments tonight, but I'm not going to sit here and watch you tear down someone good just to make yourself look better." Mackenzie's face was hard. "Are you trying to embarrass me?" "No," Liam said. "You did that on your own." A few people looked down at their plates. Gordon's face was flushed red. Olivia's mom looked like she wanted to disappear. No one moved. No one said a word. Liam looked at Olivia again. "You didn't deserve that. Any of it." Olivia wanted to say something. "Thank you," or "maybe I'm fine." But she couldn't. She just nodded. That was all she could do. In a room full of people who claimed to love her, Liam was the first one to actually stand up for her. Not behind closed doors, not later over text. Right there, when it mattered. The air had changed. The story had shifted, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia wasn't shrinking in her chair. No one moved. The room stayed suspended in that thick, unbearable silence after Liam finished speaking. She could hear the hum of the overhead lights. Somewhere in the distance, a server dropped a tray. No one laughed. No one dared. Mackenzie was still standing, staring at Liam like he had slapped her in front of the entire family. Her cheeks were flushed, but not from embarrassment. This was rage, pure and sharp. She looked around the table, searching for someone to save her, to back her up, to redirect the spotlight, but no one spoke. Gordon shifted in his seat, then finally muttered, "He's just emotional. Don't take it so seriously." Liam didn't even turn his head. He kept his focus on the room. You want to talk about emotion? Fine. Let's talk about what it actually takes to raise a child alone. To hold down two jobs, to show up for someone when it's not convenient. That's not emotion. That's strength. Mackenzie crossed her arms. Are you trying to say you have feelings for her? Liam looked at her like he didn't recognize the person in front of him. I'm trying to say I admire her. I respect her. And maybe if you spent less time performing perfection and more time listening, you'd understand why that matters. The words landed harder than anything he'd said before, because it wasn't just about Olivia anymore. It was about truth. It was about someone standing up in a room full of people who had built their self-worth on hierarchy and polite cruelty, and finally calling it out for what it was. Olivia's mother opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at her daughter with something like guilt, like recognition that maybe she had failed her too. For years she had told Olivia to keep quiet, to forgive, to smile through it. Maybe she was seeing for the first time how deeply that silence had cost her. Olivia didn't expect an apology. Not from Mackenzie, not from Gordon, not even from her mother. She wasn't waiting for redemption. But she could feel the shift. Something cracked open. Then Liam turned fully toward her. He didn't touch her. He didn't reach for her hand. He simply stood there with the quiet kind of presence that felt like protection without possession. You deserve better than this, he said. Olivia met his eyes. She didn't look away. Not this time. She stood up slowly. Her hands were steady now. She looked down the table and saw a room full of people who had spent years defining her by the one thing they disapproved of, as if one chapter of her life had erased every other page. She saw Mackenzie, furious but silent. She saw her mother, finally speechless. She saw Gordon trying to shrug it off with another sip of wine, and she felt no fear. She turned to Noah, still happily drawing spaceships at the kids' table, untouched by the storm. He looked up and smiled at her. She smiled back. I think we're going to head out, she said to no one in particular. She wasn't asking permission. She walked to Noah, helped him gather his crayons, and picked up the picture he'd drawn. A little rocket ship flying toward a sun with big, uneven rays. He handed it to her like it was gold. Did you have fun, baby? She asked. He nodded. Are we going home? Yes, she said. We are. Liam stepped back, letting her pass, but he gave her a slight nod as she walked by. It wasn't a goodbye. It was a message. You were seen. You mattered. You weren't wrong to stand tall. As she reached the door, she looked back once. No one was laughing anymore. Mackenzie sat stiff in her chair, her lips pressed into a line. Gordon scrolled on his phone like nothing had happened. Olivia's mother stared at her glass, her fingers trembling just slightly. She didn't need an apology. She didn't need approval. She had told the truth by simply existing, by not shrinking, by not leaving in shame, and Liam had backed that truth in front of everyone. That was enough. She opened the door and Noah slipped his hand into hers. They left together, steady, unshaken. The night air felt different the moment they stepped outside. Not colder, just cleaner, lighter, like the weight she had been carrying for years had finally lifted. Not because someone took it from her, but because she stopped pretending it was hers to carry. Noah skipped ahead a little on the sidewalk, humming as he waved his drawing in the air like a flag. She watched him and thought about what it had taken to raise a boy who was still joyful, still full of light, even when his mother had walked through fire to keep that light alive. Olivia used to see her life through the lens of what she had lost. The relationship that didn't last, the family who never understood, the security she gave up when she chose to have a child alone. For years, she let their voices tell her what she was worth. She absorbed their disappointment. She wore their judgment like it was hers to fix. But walking out of that room hand in hand with her son, she felt something shift inside her. Not anger, not pride, just clarity. They weren't laughing anymore because someone finally told the truth. Not the story they built around her, but the story she actually lived. She didn't need a man to validate her. She didn't need her family's approval to make her life real. She needed honesty. She needed someone to say out loud that she was more than the worst version of their assumptions. Liam didn't fix her. He didn't rescue her. What he did was more powerful. He saw her. And in doing that, he gave the rest of the room no choice but to see her too. That moment wasn't just about defending her. It was about breaking a cycle. The kind that tells women they are only valuable if they come with the right packaging. The kind that calls mothers selfish for being alone. The kind that labels strength as failure if it comes without a ring. Olivia's mother texted her later that night. One sentence, "I'm sorry." It didn't undo anything, but it was something. A crack in the wall. Maybe even a beginning. Mackenzie didn't reach out. Olivia didn't expect her to. She didn't need her apology. She no longer measured her worth by what Mackenzie thought of her. What Olivia needed was exactly what she gave herself. Permission to leave a place where she was being diminished and walk out whole. She put Noah to bed when they got home. He was tired but happy. He didn't ask about the dinner. He didn't ask why she looked different. He just curled into his blankets and told her he loved her before he closed his eyes. Olivia sat in the living room, still in her dress, and let the quiet settle. She thought about all the times she had wished to be invisible. All the times she had tried to make herself smaller so she wouldn't offend, wouldn't embarrass, wouldn't be the subject of whispered judgments. No more of that. She had walked through enough alone to know she never needed to apologize for surviving. She had raised a kind, curious, loving child. She had built a life with grit, with grace, and with a heart that kept beating even when it felt like no one cared. So, if someone ever tried to laugh at that again, she would not stay silent. She wouldn't shout. She wouldn't cry. She would do exactly what she did that night. She would stand. She would look them in the eye. And she would walk out, hand in hand with the one thing that proved she had already won. Not because she was perfect, but because she refused to quit. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.